not that scary, right? I heard it's not that scary.
It's more psychological, and in the end, kind of like it leaves interpretation open. But Hugh Grant was like friggin' phenomenal, and he was really good in it. I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Okay. This week it's just me and you, Paul. So we'll go into Dune Prophecy, which just came out last night on Max. It's kind of like the It kind of show right now, but it's gotten a bit of mixed reviews. And I want to pick your brain about that Tyson Jake Paul fight, and then maybe we can talk about a couple other things. Where do you want to start, man?
Well, I was about to say that. I was about to say let's talk about the elephant in the room, that
Okay.
Tyson Jake Paul fight. First of all, I probably watched I think 3 of the fights on the card. The first fight before the women's fight was like the one that I really like got into and watched,
That
and it
went
was
all 12 rounds.
yeah, and that was good. You saw the boxers put their heart out. They knew it was like their time to shine. They gave it what they
Yep.
had, and it was a really good fight. I think it was a really well fought. The women's fight was phenomenal.
That
I
was
thought,
phenomenal.
geez, like that was their repeat. The first match was crazy. I think it was Madison Square Garden. They sold out. And then they brought it back, and this fight was like that girl's eye, like oh
Yeah, well, wide open. Oh my God. But I felt like the champ, the Irish fighter, I can't remember her name now. She was intentionally headbutting I think her name is Serrano, the Puerto Rican fighter.
hmm
And it just didn't sit right. That thing opened up
oh
like it was like a mouth up there. It's just like gushing blood at one point. I thought they were going to call the fight. I'm glad they didn't, because that last round was just like haymakers. Nobody was playing defense or anything. It was just both going for the knockout.
yeah, that last like the last 20-30 seconds, it was just like Hail Marys and haymakers. It
Yeah,
was Taylor and Serrano, and that
right.
eye. I don't know if you saw the Rocky movies, obviously, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there was a lot of like mirroring of Rocky in this in this card. That fight totally was like when he was like, "Cut it open, Nick. Cut it open,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he cut it open with the razor. Like that was that, like.
Yeah.
But Taylor Serrano was a dope fight. That was worth. I think it's funny and it's sad that the Tyson Paul fight was probably the worst fight on the card.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a couple of issues going into that fight. I felt like going into it, you know, I never had I had a little bit of that. I'd say I was like 80-40, that 80-20 that Jake Paul was going to win. And the baseline is just that Tyson is a 58-year-old man. And I don't care what he does in those training videos, those 2-second clips where he's doing like a speed routine, that never really convinced me, just because boxing is about stamina, is about, even when you're not taking punches or landing punches, you're moving. You have to be 100% aware all the time. And I just felt like Tyson was not going to be up for it. No way.
Not me, man. I was a sentimental dope. I thought Tyson all the way. I was like, I was seeing him training, and I was like, yo, this is Tyson was coming up. I was probably like 6, 7 years old, 8 years old, and then like he was hitting his prime later on when I got a little bit older. And watching him fight was just it was amazing. It was like
Yeah.
there was nothing like it in the world. And I'll never forget that one I forgot what fight it was, and he came out with the black towel, and he came out to the song "Mama Said Knock You Out."
Dude, before
I
the
think,
fight, I said, Mike better come out to Mama Said Knock You Out.
yeah, yo, I'll never forget that fight. That I think it was McNeely. I think it was the McNeely fight. He came out, and I was like, "This guy ain't no joke." It was one of the
Yeah.
best ring entrances I had ever
Yeah, it
seen.
was.
Like it was no nonsense. He came out like he had just came from the hood. Not $1 million robe like Jake Paul had.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
literally like grabbed a towel out of like his dressing room, cut a hole for a neck, and threw it over his head, and just came out because all he cared about was knocking someone out. He
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
care about like the walk down. So, and then here we go with the mirroring again. To me, this was Balboa. Do you remember that Balboa
Yeah,
movie?
yeah.
And they,
Not the last movie, but part 6, I think it was.
yeah, it was the one where they did like the ESPN simulated fight, and he
Yeah.
fought. I forgot who the guy was.
He
To
fought a
me,
real boxer.
so throughout the whole fight, if I had like an opportunity to bet on it, I would have put money on Tyson, and like
Okay.
without a doubt. And I thought he had a punching chance. To me, it was super depressing seeing him, especially when he was like,
He couldn't move out there.
he couldn't move. Like he had some movement in the beginning, but then his legs got real stiff. Once he got tired,
Yeah,
it was
it
immediate.
was done.
And the other thing that was super depressing and like kind of to me, I hate to say it, looked almost senile, was him biting his glove. Like it
Yeah,
looked like some not dementia, like some kind of like mental um I don't know, affliction where he's just sitting there and he's biting his glove. And they were trying to say it's like when he's out of breath. He did it before in his career. I've seen him do
he's
it.
done it before, and he addressed that. He
Never like
said it
that though.
never like that. He said it was a habit of his, and he kind of just dismissed it, and that was it. But
And holding back the jokes and all that because of the Holyfield stuff. But like he says he always had like this oral fixation, but never it was just really sad to see. And I honestly feel like Jake Paul held back
yeah,
towards the
especially in
later
the
rounds
later rounds, absolutely.
because he would have never been forgiven if he had knocked Tyson out and like hurt him in some way. So I think he
Yeah,
knew that.
I think the fight took a turn after maybe the second or third round. It was kind of a ride. It was. I think Jake Paul is a great villain. People hate this guy. Obviously he has his fans, millions, but I guess there's a generation, maybe ours, that kind of doesn't really like this guy at all. He's
I
he's he's
hate
not
him.
he's not likable. So we're kind of looking at Mike Tyson to knock this guy out.
You know,
A lot of people were tuned in just because he was fighting Tyson. Um, and then I think early on, Tyson caught him with like a nice hook, left hook. Um, but as the fight went on, I think the sentiment changed to a level of discomfort where it's like, I'm watching this 27-year-old guy just like taunt and beat up this 58-year-old man who can barely walk around. He's not very mobile. He could barely defend himself. And it just got sad to me at the end. I was like, it didn't sit right. It just didn't sit right. And I was like, it's a sad state of like what is entertainment nowadays. That's kind of the road I went down. Whereas like this is not competitive in any way. It's really just, I don't know, a low form of entertainment. And I think they spun it as before the fight was like Iron Mike Tyson is back, he's gonna kill this kid. And then after was, oh well, at least he tried. He's a 58-year-old man. Like that, the narrative changed.
yeah, I think it definitely had highs and lows. I gotta say, I've watched boxing in the past, and there was a lot of fights that I've gotten hyped up for. It's been quite a while since I got hyped up for a fight, and this one got me really hyped up. I
Yeah.
watched, those episodes on Netflix, those 3 episodes leading up to the fight. I was getting hyped up for Tyson because it made me, sentimental to
He's
past Tyson.
likable.
He's an
He,
idiot. He's
he
like he
he
says what's
went,
on his mind,
but
and like I heard this interview with him with like a 12-year-old girl, and she was
I
interviewing
just
him.
saw that.
You just saw that, and I was
Yeah,
like, "This is ridiculous!"
it's the
Like, you know what
darkest
I mean?
thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's super dark. Like, we all die and nothing means nothing. And the 12-year-old kid was a professional
It's like, oh, I
because
never heard that perspective before.
she just rolled with it. She has a career, man. But like, and like, so he Tyson is what he is. But I got super hyped for this, and I went from a state of like a boxing match I'm actually looking forward to like you said, where it got to a point where it was uncomfortable and depressing. And then
Yeah,
like I grew up like I said before, I was a kid watching him. So now like seeing him at this state kind of makes me look at my own mortality and stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
damn, it's
Because
like
a lot of
put you in
time
that
has
spot.
gone by, and
And I don't get this Jake Paul. I don't get Logan Paul. I don't like these guys. Like to me, they're schmucks. They're like,
and where I was watching with the group of guys that I was watching, which is like friends from, since I was a kid, basically, we were talking about, when they played that old footage of Mike, right, leading up to the match. It's like, oh, I remember watching this on pay-per-view at my uncle's house or whatever with the cable and the TV, which much smaller. So it really gave you a sense of how old he is, but also like why we're rooting for him today is, he came up as a phenomenal boxer, as a phenom. He's still the youngest world champion ever, but he had a very dark history too. Like he went to prison for rape. He had the ear biting with Holyfield. And then he became like a villain in society, and it took him like about 10 years to really come back from that. And I think like the pinnacle of his return was the Hangover movie, the cameo he did, where people began to warm up to him, and then he just became this kind of like, on social media he just became like very quotable, and he comes across as a very sincere and humble person after having lived through those experiences. So now we still look at, baddest man on the planet. I think we forget about that ugly little part in the middle of his personal life, and now he's been completely redeemed. So it's great to see him out there and perform still, and just root for him. It's awesome.
The absolute visual of what you just said, like personified, exactly what you just said, was in an episode where he ran into a guy that he mugged when he was in his bad time, like before, and the guy was like, "Yo, Mike, yo, remember when you robbed me outside the grocery store?" And Mike was like, "Nah, I don't remember that." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, remember you hit me with the rock and you took my money out of my." He's like, "Yo, Mike, it's good to see you back." Like that's like exactly like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so he had his bad times, but it's just like now, like you even the guy who got mugged by him is rooting for him. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, but hey, that brings me to a perfect like transition. A villain being a villain and not being likable. And now like you have all these shows that try to take a villain and make him like an anti-hero or
Hmm.
like Venom, they try to do with Venom, they try to do with Punisher, they try to do with all these like these guys. Penguin, I don't
Same.
know, you saw the finale
I did.
and they showed you at the end, nah, he's not redeemable. He's a villain.
Yeah.
Very end, all he cares about is himself. Spoiler alert, when he took the kid out, and it's like, and it made you feel like, yo, this kid gave him a pep talk. He's making him into the Penguin that we know, and like
Hmm.
they're gonna ride off together and they're gonna start running some stuff. And then when he did what he did, you're like unredeemable.
Well,
This
that's
put a
I don't
villain in a spot.
I don't know if you recall, but when we reviewed the first episode, I made that call. I said the Penguin is going to have to kill this kid at the end of the series because we like him too much right now. We're rooting for him. So if this character is going to go into a Batman film and we're supposed to feel a hatred toward him, like how is this character going to get there? So that's why I was like, he's going to have to kill Vic.
And such good reasoning, like rationale for why he did it, with the weakness with his mom. And that he
Yeah.
had gone through that weakness and he couldn't afford to go through it again. And he felt himself catching feelings for Vic. And he was like, I can't go through this again. And that scene where him and his mom are tied opposite of each other, and the realization that she knew this whole time and that she resents and actually hates him, and him like going into this cocoon of protection, pretending like no, it's his sickness, like he's lying to
Hmm.
himself, in that moment. But there
Yeah.
was like these cracks of his realization that like he couldn't defend himself in that cocoon anymore. Like there was parts where it was breaking through, and he was going to let his mom's finger get cut off just
Yeah.
because he couldn't
Yeah.
come to the truth with his mom and having her look at him like that. That scene was phenomenal. Like it was just so good. It showed you how delusional he was, and all he wanted to do, even when he saved her, it was just to save her, to have her tell him how proud she was of him, of what he
Right.
accomplished. Like that's sick in the
Yeah.
head, man. So it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
very well done.
Yeah. Very good show. I'm curious how you feel, now that the series is done, about the Sofia Falcone Gigante character.
She was good. Look, I like the actress. I don't know if it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I rewatched the Palm Springs. It's that like
Oh yeah, the comedy movie.
yeah, it's like a romantic comedy where it's basically like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, great
And sh-
movie. That came out
She's
during
in
the
it,
pandemic.
and she's with Andy Samberg. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah,
guy. That guy's hilarious. Lonely Island, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, SNL.
yep.
Um, and I like her. I like her. But I thought she was a little. I think she did it well, but she was a little cartoony at some points. Like, but I thought she
Yeah,
was good. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard when you're going against like Colin Farrell. Like and that acting and that emotional. Like he was so good. It's hard to like. I don't know. I liked her though, but I thought at some points it was a little like comicky, a little cartoony with her.
I liked her in the first episode when he's talking to the two mob cronies and she appears behind him, and then
Yeah,
she kind of puts like some panic in that room, and then she invites him to dinner, and she's very confrontational but also like a lot of misdirection there. I love that part of it, but as the show went on, I just felt like she was very incompetent, in particular against the Penguin, who constantly outmaneuvered her, and just made her look silly. So I never, yeah, like great performance, but I thought the writing for that character, she was built up in the first and second episode to go one on one with the Penguin. I just felt like he played her in every single, chance that he got. Like he constantly escaped from her. He lied to her face. Like, I don't know. I just felt like she looked kind of silly in the end. I understand they did not want to kill her because this is, potentially IP that they can repurpose later. Um, but I thought that he should have killed her. But they figured out a way, you know, by him going into politics and making some deals with that politician to put her behind bars so that that guy can elevate his own career and thus elevate the Penguin's career. I was like, okay, this is like some maneuvering, but I guess it justifies the Penguin not killing her. But I don't know. I felt like that character was ultimately a big disappointment.
I think with her alive too, it helped the reveal be a little more deeper with Selena Kyle. Um, I think with her, like you said, I loved it in the beginning. She was very subtle and very intimidating. With
Yeah, very
her
intimidating.
character, I think less was more with her character. You know what I mean? I think they kind of overdid her. They wrote her in a lot, and like you said, it to me that the way you're explaining it, where like he took advantage of her and she made some really questionable moves. To me, that's what I saw as like cartoonish, like
Hmm.
comic-ish, where it was just well overdone. You know what I mean? Where he was more like you saw his like psychological struggle that he was going through. With her, it's like she lost her brother. Okay, we hit that point, and then it's like she's giving him every open ending. Like she
Yeah,
just knocked Vic out instead of killing Vic. She kidnapped the mom, but she didn't really hurt the mom. Then she let this guy go. Then she put the
and
bomb in the car, but gave him time to escape or whatever.
yeah,
It was like left and
told him
right,
look in
man.
the trunk.
Yeah, and you think it's going to be like the mom's head or whatever, and it's a bomb, and it's like, well, you probably got time to escape. Like every
Yeah,
step of the way, like making these stupid moves, like for what? Like what did you want at the end? You wanted to break him. You were going to break him with his mom, and then what? Like what was the end game for you? Him,
yeah,
like I guess it made sense, and they had to write it in to, like you said, to have her as accessible IP later on for the other Batman movies and the Selena Kyle reveal. But like, what was her point of keeping him like going? I just didn't get it. It just got like a little cartoonish to me.
yeah. They should have kept. I think they made the mistake when she killed her whole family. Then it left them really nowhere to go because that family was a huge uh pressure point on Penguin because they controlled everything. And once they were gone, Penguin was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do my own thing. Like there was really no one to stop him. I
And
don't know.
all that for what? For her to just give it up to the first person who catches the penguin,
Right.
and then you catch him and you let him go anyway. Like it was so
Yeah.
stupid. Like that part of it, like there was a lot of like plot hole type stuff with that with her. But yeah, I don't know. That part lost me a little bit. But he was great. I was so sad to see Vic go. Overall, I think the show was really good. I was like,
Yeah,
was very impressed.
it was a mood. It was like,
Oh, and
yeah,
what about that guy that was? She was like, the guy, the doctor. Um,
yeah, what happened with him? He suddenly like is back at the hospital. Like, didn't he quit when she left? They made a
he,
big thing about him quitting, and now he's just like back.
and I could have sworn they were trying to insinuate that he was going to be like some version of the Scarecrow. I
Yeah,
thought they were trying to build up to that, and then it just kind of left like his
I'm
big
glad they didn't
reveal.
though, because I want a better actor for the Scarecrow.
Yeah, I wasn't in love with that guy. And there was like some weird relationship they had going on. but his big reason for coming back was just to drop off the letter from Selena, and then that was it.
Yeah, that made no sense. The fact that he was back there. If you quit a job, usually you don't just show up the next day, like, hey, I'm still working here or whatever. The Selena Kyle connection, I don't know where that's going. I don't know why that. I don't really like that they did that, and I don't really know what
Well,
the whole point was.
they hinted at that in the movie because they hinted that Falcone, whatever, was her father.
Oh, you're right.
That's
You're right.
that's
You're
why he
right.
was
You're right.
like
You're right.
taking such like a shine to her or whatever. So this was just vindication saying, yeah, whoever thought that, you're right. And
Okay,
this is how
yeah.
we're going to show it. And now she kind of has like, oh, she does have some family left, and
Yeah,
she
so
has
now,
some family who hates her family that she just killed off. So they have something in common.
yeah, I think my issue here is bridging the gap between TV and film, and the weight of an actor, like, to carry these roles onto the movie screen, I think is a little bit different. I don't think that character is good enough to be in a Batman movie for more than like 15 minutes.
Her?
I don't know. Yeah.
No,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
like, maybe they do a Selena Kyle Gigante spinoff, but I do not want that character in a Batman pill because she's just too low to the ground. She's too, Batman is he's dealing with big issues, and I feel like Gigante, she's dealing with, you know, drops and nonsense. So
I mean,
there's a gap there.
the big outcry was like, when they ran that explosion and like that whole town, whatever that little like city block got imploded. How come Batman didn't show up? And then
Yeah,
the only hint of Batman you got was at the very end when he's finally got his penthouse suite and he's looking out the window and then the symbol hits like up in the
yeah.
sky, which was dope. It was
I
dope,
like that. I like that because
you know.
he's like, no one can touch me now, or something like that.
Yeah, and then it was like bing.
Yep.
That was dope.
So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And it's also a good reminder that, all this stuff is tied together. So I know we have until 2026 for the next Batman film, and I know
I don't know
Matt
what.
Reeves, he hasn't said anything about, what the story is, or who might be in it. In the original, there was a Joker cameo as well, so they can go in a lot of different ways here.
Joker cameo was never canon though. Joker cameo was always like a deleted scene, and he
No, it's
released
not.
it.
That's in the film.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure he released it. If you look at it, if you double check it, I think it was either like it was a deleted scene that he released on YouTube, and it became like super popular.
You don't see him, but you hear him talking to the Riddler.
Oh, maybe that was it then. But the scene where he interrogates, you saw him that one, right?
That's the deleted scene. Yeah. No, I'm
Okay,
not
okay.
talking about that. I'm talking about he's in a cell next to the Riddler and they have like a little conversation. You don't see him though.
Oh yeah, and he gave that riddle. What it becomes more important the less of what you have. And
Yeah,
it was like a
yeah.
friend.
So the Joker is there in some capacity in that universe. So we'll see where it goes.
I really wish they go down the avenue of like a Mr. Freeze because the animated series. I just actually watched the new one that came out on Prime. I watched it with my daughter, and we just did the season finale, and they do a little like hint, and it's Bruce Timm's, the original, from the original animated series, but it's not a continuation. It's kind of like its own thing.
Mhm.
And it was really well done. A lot of people thought it was controversial because they made like a female penguin, but I mean, I think everything else after that pretty much stayed consistent. And then the very last post credit scene of the season finale showed the Joker basically trying out different toxins, and you see like people sitting in chairs and dying from laughter, and
Damn.
then it just cuts to him, and all you see is his eyes, like his dark and sunken
Oh, so
eyes.
he's not in the series.
He's not in the series at all. It's all like Harvey Dent and like the first episode was Penguin. That was about it. But it was really well done.
I'm
But
curious, Mr. Freeze, they haven't done on screen since Schwarzenegger. And obviously tonally that was very cartoonish and over the top. I think Batman villains are certainly challenging to bring on screen and to be taken seriously. I mean, I think what they did with the Riddler might have kind of been a little over, maybe too realistic, too dark. That was a really dark character. But I'm curious what kind of things they're thinking about and exploring if they did a Mr. Freeze. That would be cool.
Mr. Freeze would have to be like more realistic. But what I've been hearing is more of like a Clayface Court of Owls type of
Mm,
like story. Um, who knows? Who knows? Something maybe involving Arkham. But I
yeah,
really think like that. I'll never forget that story in the animated series with Mr. Freeze and his wife.
yeah,
And that story just was like one of the best stories I've seen for like an animated series, like across the board, whatever it be.
yeah.
I mean, Batman was just top tier anyway, regardless, the animated series.
That animated series, yeah, that was one of the best.
But for that to be the top of the top, that episode was like so you could do it well, and that's like a good
Yeah,
villain to do. But like you said, in Matt Reeves, like how they pull it off and keep it really grounded and stuff. So who knows? They're
yeah.
doing in James Gunn's universe, like the DCU, they're gonna do Brave and Bold, and they're going
For
for the new Superman movie coming out, like the
oh yeah,
new DCU. So Matt Reeves is gonna have his little corner. The next one they're coming out with is Creature Commandos. I think that's coming out in December.
that looks cool.
Yeah, that looks good. I mean, essentially, it's just a Suicide Squad, but with like more like fantastical characters.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to see stuff that like I'm unfamiliar with, to be honest. Like every time I think about I'm way more familiar with Marvel. That's the stuff I grew up with, those comic books and collecting the cards and everything. So I'm familiar with a lot of those characters, even if I don't really like enjoy their movies and things like that. But for DC, the brand and the types of characters, they're very different. So I'm more curious in what James Gunn is gonna come up with, just because I kind of want something fresh that's new to me.
and I think he's good. He's good with characters like that. And like the Superman movie already, you see it like in the the scenes that they've released, like that people caught while they were filming. They had Mr. Terrific in it. They had Guy Gardner's Green Lantern. So they don't have like the mainstream people that we're used to
Hmm.
seeing. So he's doing something different. He's doing like
Well, he did the new Suicide Squad, right, with the shark guy.
yeah, that was
That
pretty good
that
too.
movie's cool as hell, man. That
Yeah.
movie was mad fun.
So we'll see. We'll see what he can do. I'm really curious. Like I know he could do those offbeat characters pretty well.
Yeah.
I wonder how he's going to do with a big mainstream like Superman. Like how is he? I
Hmm.
love the comics that he's pulling. Like the Birthright and oh my gosh, I know Kingdom Come they made reference to. Um, oh man, what was the other one? The one where Superman dies because he absorbed too much of the sun's radiation. All Star Superman.
Okay.
Another inspiration for his movie. So those are all great like comic reads. So I'm just curious to see how he's going to put it all together and make this Superman come real. Soon, I guarantee
What's
we're probably
the
gonna get a
what's the due
trailer.
date on that? What's the release date
June. So I
already?
think I
Oh
think
wow.
we're gonna get Creature Commandos. I think they just finished wrapping Peacemaker season 2, and then I think we go into Superman. So we'll probably get a trailer. I would say either Super Bowl or a little bit before Super Bowl.
Probably Super Bowl, because that is February. And I already saw the trailer or the teaser for Creature Commandos on the new Max teaser. You're talking about the animated series, right?
Creature Commandos, yeah, that's gonna be
Yeah.
animated. But he's trying to keep all the people incorporated. So like Rick Flag's dad. Oh, who's that actor? Damn. He just got that actor, that guy that's old, but he's like in amazing shape. He was Crossbones in Captain America,
Oh, that guy? He's
Marvel.
not that old.
Not that old, but he's older, but he's
Yeah.
cut like a 20-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Um
forget his name.
shoot. Whatever. He's voicing um what's father in Creature Commandos, and then he's gonna Rick Flag's father, and he's gonna play him in Peacemaker 2. So James Gunn's trying to keep
I
everything,
see.
whether it be animated or live action, keeping the
Pretty
actors
consistent.
uniform, across the board, and have everything connect.
Okay. I look forward to that new So just like a new take on Superman. I'm not a huge fan, and I don't really love those movies, to be honest. So I like the aesthetic of the last one, but I didn't actually like the movie. So we'll see. Hopefully they do something a little bit more in tune with like the older Superman, lighter in tone and more vibrant in colors, and who knows. Um, let's pivot to Dune Prophecy real quick. Unless you want any finishing thoughts on DC verse.
No, I mean I could go on all day. I'm a big Superman fan, and like I'm just happy to get more of it. I
Okay.
was scared that after the whole Snyder thing that it was over for a while, and I'm glad that James Gunn got it, and that's going to be like one of his first one.
Yeah,
Oh, but
I think it's in good hands.
that's what I was saying before, the Brave and the Bold. So in this universe now, we're going to have like an older Batman, and right away we're going to have like Robin and Nightwing and all that other stuff.
Established already.
Yeah, and that's why Brave, and even this Superman, it's going to be like the first real live action implementation in this, and you're already going to have a bunch of heroes out there that are established, and I think they're under Lord. What's his name? My gosh, something Lord. That he runs a big corporation, and they're going to be working for him because they're wearing like his logo on their costumes. So it's like it's going to be a weird take
Okay.
on it.
I don't know anything about that. Okay, that's new. Um, Looking forward to it though. Matt Reeves has done a good job with the Batman franchise, so things looking good. Um, Dune Prophecy. You watched both Dune films, right?
I did. I can't say I'm like a huge Dune fan. I don't know all the lore and all that, but I've watched the two movies. I thought it was good. I even watched, I mean, when I was younger, the old one back in the day.
Oh yeah, the David Lynch one.
Yeah, yeah.
They made one, I think, in the 2000s too. Yeah, none of them are good. Obviously the Denis Villeneuve film is, in my opinion, is one of the best sci-fi movies ever made.
Now,
Um,
let me get your take on this. Why? Why
okay.
do you say that? Like, I know you said that before too with the Dune. Why do you like it so much? Like, what about draws you to it?
I think it's just the style in his eye to sort of number one, it's like the scale that he's able to translate on screen. Everything feels massive and weighted. And that has to do with like those beautiful wide shots of like the landscapes that he puts together, but also like the sounds of like the ships and the things buzzing at you. I just think he creates a really, really great atmosphere. And all of that contributes to just like the world building that he's putting together, where like nothing feels like it's misplaced, but he also doesn't spend a lot of time on like the lore of every little thing that's happening on screen. If you want that, you can get the book. But I just thought he put together a really, really fantastic movie. I think it's over 2 hours, but it just moves so quick, and it just looks and sounds beautiful all throughout.
Now, how would you like compare it to like a Star Wars, for instance? Like, what would make you make this the Dune stand out higher than like Star Wars?
I think honestly, just because it's more modern, all the new Star Wars, I don't like any of them. I do like the original trilogy, and I wouldn't compare Dune to that movie because it's been 50 years or more, or 60. So I wouldn't compare Dune to that. Obviously, and Dune is a little bit of a darker, more serious film. Um, so I wouldn't compare those two movies. Now, comparing it to the more recent Star Wars, I think I don't even think there is a comparison. I think those Star Wars fall pretty flat. I don't think there's anything really new or interesting about those films. And that's also partly because they just keep regurgitating and going back to the same creative pot. They're not doing anything new that they didn't do 60 years ago. Um, so I've never been a huge Star Wars fan, but I have a tons of respect for the story just because it's like one of the first stories that really defines a hero on screen and takes you through that hero journey. Um, if it's on, now we're streaming, but back in the day, if it was on TV, I just watch it no matter where it is. I'll just stay on that channel and watch it. But I think Dune is just something a little bit more elevated into filmmaking. And obviously it's a new generation of filmmaking. So when I said it's one of the best of all time, I meant speaking against its contemporaries, but also I think it will last um, for quite a while.
For me, like I got the story. I got, from Dune 1 and Dune 2. Like I said, I'm not a big Uber fan. I never read the books or anything like that. Um, so I kind of was interested in those characters. This one was hard to swallow because it's like, okay, it's kind of like the Game of Thrones where now we're
Yeah.
going back way past in the history of it and seeing like way before the origins, before the movie took place or the original show took place. And now it's like, well, now you have a whole new set of characters to get invested in and to to lend yourself to.
Yeah.
That's not even part of the movie.
It has
It's like,
nothing to do. Yeah. So the show is about the Bene Gesserit who are in the film, but they're not, they are involved in the story. And I guess the movie is sort of like the culmination of what they've been doing in the past. But the show doesn't really focus on that. It focuses on them trying to sort of gain power by putting a female on the throne so they can have a female emperor. And they kind of have like a, what do they call them? They don't call them Bene Gesserits in the show yet because maybe they haven't defined that themselves as that. They're a sisterhood, but each like big house has one, and they're basically like human lie detectors. But beyond that, they're kind of conspiring to get a female leader on the throne.
and we got the first taste of that voice, right? She had just
Yeah.
created that voice thing that we've seen in the movies. I
So
thought it was really interesting, the intro. I didn't know this whole thing about the machine war. I never knew that about Dune, that the original
yeah,
history was that it was kind of like a Matrix scenario, and they had to
yeah,
fight. And with us, like, AI is
we're on the
starting,
verge of the war.
yeah, exponential growth in AI right now in their development. And it's like, is this like a glimpse of our future, maybe?
um, I had very little interest in the show. Just seeing the trailer, I was
Really?
just, yeah. Even
After
I'm a
speaking so
huge.
highly about the movie, you didn't you're not interested in the show at all like that?
I wasn't upon seeing the trailers, just because you know the, the movie focused on Paul Atreides and his sort of ascension into this, Messiah kind of figure, and everything that comes with that. And this is like kind of like the origin of the Bene Gesserit, and I don't really care about the origin of the Bene Gesserit. But after watching the show, I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance. I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I felt like the first 5-10 minutes was just like dumping exposition on you and just like explaining everything for like 10 minutes straight. And then from that, it just cut to people talking. And I honestly I was bored for the first 25 minutes. I was not interested in any of the characters or their motivations. I felt that the setting was, the settings were okay, but it just really fell short. And then I think when Mark Strong's character, the Emperor, showed up, it got a little bit more interesting because we got to see sort of like what's happening outside of the Bene Gesserit kind of like planet. And then that other dude, the Desmond, shows up from Arrakis, having served and survived a war or an ambush there. And then I felt like it got a little bit more interesting. Definitely a little, like you said, Game of Thrones vibe with this thing, with all the different houses vying for power. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it.
Especially the first episode. This totally gave me Game of Thrones season 1 episode 1 vibes where it was a lot to digest. You're talking
Yeah,
about a couple different families. There's so much stuff going on. You're trying to think like who's who, what's doing what, and
yeah.
like trying to remember all this. It was a lot. It was a lot to take down in the first episode.
But the only issue, the reason I got hooked into Game of Thrones early on was because the opening scene is this guy running out of the woods, losing his freaking mind because he saw a walker, and then the what's his name chops his head off for being a deserter.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was like, whoa, this give me some action before you just start explaining everything.
And
And
this one didn't have that
this
one.
one was just like he's like, get a notebook, write this down because we're gonna explain everything. And
Like
I
going
was
to
just
class.
not. Yeah, I was just not.
I heard this. So this season, from what I heard, is only 6 episodes long, or is it six?
Okay,
Right?
I'm
And I
not
think
sure.
from people who have seen it, who had like early access to it, got access to like to the first 4 episodes, and they're saying across the board it's a very slow burn. So
Okay, but
if
in a
it
good
keeps
way.
up, well, I don't know if it's a good way because I don't know if it ever burns like bright. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
does it ever catch fire, or is it just a slow burn the whole time? So if it's like this, that's kind of hard to swallow because you want like and you want some kind of like you said a hook. You want
yeah,
something to grab onto and be like, oh wow. And this final in the ending of this episode didn't really have like a big hook besides the kid and the sister getting catching fire and seeing
yeah,
Desmond was the one who set it up. What did you think about Mark Strong? Like, what did you think about the Emperor? Like, what did you think of his character?
yeah. I didn't think he was too dissimilar from the Atreides character. What's his name? Paul Atreides' father, whose first name I can't explain. He's kind of like a guy in power, but he's being pulled from all sides, right? He has to make all the different houses happy, and you do that just by like mining the spice and bringing it onto the other planets. So he's in a position where he's being influenced by the Bene Gesserit or the Sisterhood, but then like there's this guy, what's this other family's name that they're marrying into, Richizi or something, then pulling him off from the other side, like, hey, we'll give you like all these warships so we can help you, so you can fight, the battle and get the spice. I thought he was okay. I like Mark Strong in almost everything. He's pretty good. Um,
Another Penguin alum coming over. He took over whatchamacallit's
oh,
role.
that's right. He was Falcone,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Um, so
I
I thought
thought
he was good.
I
The
I
most
thought
interesting character was probably the guy Desmond.
yeah.
Obviously, even though like he kind of looked and like he didn't even belong on the show. He just looked so different from everybody. But I was like, at least he's doing something. Like I'm asking questions about this guy, and he seems like he has like a motive that might be interesting going forward.
I felt the Emperor was very weak. I feel like they made him really weak. Like he didn't know what direction to take.
Indecisive, yeah.
Very indecisive. Like Desmond was telling them one thing, and he was like, "Oh, that's kind of a good point." Then his wife was getting pissed off at him because the kid had technology and didn't stand up for them, and he kind of looked weak there. He looked weak to his daughter. His daughter didn't really want him to get married, but he felt like he had to.
Hmm.
So I didn't like him. He looked very indecisive, very weak. What do you think that whole thing was with Desmond? Like when he got the kid sick and the sister, and they were in totally two different places, but they were
Yeah, I have
burning
no
up.
idea.
Like,
So,
how did he do that?
so I have no clue, but he hints at being reborn when he's talking to the Emperor one on one. Also, like, how do you just show up and get a meeting with the Emperor one on one? I don't know.
Well, after
But
that footage, that was his footage. Him
that
getting
was
swallowed
before
up
the
by the.
footage, though.
Yeah.
That was like after the party. They're just outside hanging out.
And again, like these architectural designs, this engineering of this Dune, whatever this planet
It's
is,
wild.
it's crazy. Like the Emperor is just standing there on the edge of a cliff, and he has no security, no nothing.
Right.
And Desmond just pops up and he's like, "Yo, what's up?" Like,
Yeah.
if he
Yeah.
wanted to, he could have just pushed him off the edge. Who's to
Right.
stop his enemy to come and like, I got the spices now, or whatever, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that irked me too. I was like, this guy just showed up from out of nowhere and just like walked into the throne. I don't know. I guess they trust him. Whatever. I'll put that aside. They trust each other. But at one point, the emperor says, I'll believe in God if, he gets me out of this wedding or whatever. And that's when Desmond is like, okay, I'll go kill this kid. He kills the kid and the sister somehow together with the same kind of. I did love that death, like burning from inside,
Yeah,
like they were smoking. It was cool. Um, but he did say he was reborn at some point, and then when the emperor finds like the little hard drive, the footage. I don't know how they got this footage, but he sees Desmond getting swallowed up by the worm, by the sandworm. Now
Now,
you presume he's dead at that point, but maybe not. Maybe he got some powers. I don't know.
now, what was that whole thing with him twitching while the little boy was getting killed? Do you think he was like regretting, or like he was like, "Damn, I'm killing a child," or do you think it was like
No
some weird
idea.
power thing he had? I couldn't
It,
tell. That was like so like I couldn't figure out what was going on there.
yeah, I don't, because he didn't seem remorseful.
Well,
He seems like a good intention.
he was like twitching his ear. He was like while the kid was screaming and like pleading for his life, he was just like
I didn't
like,
notice that.
oh, you yeah, it was weird. I
No,
don't know if he was like it was almost either like he was controlling, the thing, or he was like just like irking and like, damn, I'm killing a kid. Like I couldn't tell what was going on. And why did he kill the sister?
I don't know
Like was
why and
did she
how.
speak out about something and then that's why he got rid of her?
Well, I don't know. Like, and what connection does the sister have to the kid? Obviously, she has a strong connection to Nez, who's the bride in this situation. But yeah, these are. I just assume like they'll tell us in an episode or two, like what actually happened there, because I have no clue, no idea what how that happened. Um,
Yeah, this I gotta say, this first episode didn't blow me away. It was a lot to digest, and it no hook to make you be like, oh damn, I can't wait to find out what this is about. I'm more confused than
yeah,
anything, to tell you the truth.
same. Yeah, no hook at the beginning to lure you, and no hook at the ending to sort of bring you back. And then even in like, oh, what's coming up in the season, nothing really there either, to be honest.
The only thing I caught was the struggle between power for Desmond and like that sisterhood.
Yeah, I do like, so Desmond is definitely aware that I do like him saying to the kid, he's like, the kid is like, oh, you're a soldier. What are you doing here? There's no war. And he implies there is a war. You just don't see it. He was talking about how the Bene Gesserit is infiltrating the throne to take power. When he first arrives and he's talking to the emperor, he says, we were attacked, but it wasn't by the Fremen, who are basically the locals. It was by your allies. Your allies attacked us and stole the spice. And the sister is like, yeah, he's telling the truth, or at least he believes what he's saying. So I think he kind of figured out a way to lie or manipulate the sisterhood so they can't tell when he's kind of lying.
Yeah.
Something is going on between them. It's a lot of unsaid stuff right now.
I guess the big hook was him like getting engulfed by the sandworm and like still being alive somehow.
Yeah, because you don't really survive from that, obviously. There was a couple. I wrote down a couple of scenes that I liked and didn't like. And a couple of characters that I'm not really feeling. So number one is Constantine Carino, who's like the half brother of the woman getting married, and a couple of other people. They just feel like
Oh yeah,
CW
Mr.
characters.
Eyebrows.
Yeah, like these guys should be like on a CW show gossiping and making out, because like they just feel off.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. They don't feel like they belong to this world.
even
It's
that
weird.
weird like love scene too. It was like I don't know. Didn't like.
I didn't
She's
need that.
very exotic though. The princess, she's exotic. But yeah, it was just
Yeah,
like yeah, I didn't even think about it until you said it. But it's like it was very CW-ish, like the love scene, and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna be married tomorrow, so who cares?" It's like,
right. And like they
yeah,
snort some coke on the way to the club. It's just
yeah.
like, wait, what?
Were they storing spice? Like, what were they doing? I was like, they still got coke after all, like fighting the Matrix, and now they got coke still too.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. Yeah. So a couple of weird scenes that didn't make any sense to me. Or like just felt weird. Just felt like a I don't know, low quality storytelling, or because you have Emily Watson, who's like a renowned great actress, Mark Strong, obviously, even Olivia Williams, who plays Emily Watson's sister.
Yeah,
Like she's great. And then you like the quality kind of just dips big time when they go to CW style in the nightclub. I was like, what the hell are we doing here?
CW stuff. I like Travis. I like that guy. That actor is pretty good.
Who is that?
The one who plays Desmond.
Oh yeah,
He's pretty good.
he was in Vikings and Raised by Wolves. A couple
Yep.
things.
Oh, Raised by Wolves, man. I forgot about that.
That show was
That fell
hard.
off though. It was
It
real
got
good the
too
first
weird.
season. Yeah, it got real weird. It got too weird. Season 2 was too much for me.
Yeah, same. I think everyone they canceled it, but season one was fucking great. Um,
Yeah, I
eh,
knew I was in trouble the very first like 5 minutes when it was like, okay, this 160 years after the Machine War. I was like, all right, I get it. You just showed that intro, and then it's like it's 10,000 years or whatever it was before Paul Atreides was born. I was like, whoa,
yeah,
what?
and I think they just want to say that so people aren't like, when is Paul Atreides going to show up?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Like,
very mirror image of House of Dragons because they
yeah,
did something very similar. They were like, before Daenerys was, whatever born. If it had a very similar vibe,
yeah,
but
very similar vibe.
I guess
There's,
the House of Dragons to me, because I know a little bit more of the lore, I guess, from the House of Dragons because of Game of Thrones than I do
well,
with
you got
Dune.
like 10 years of history on Game of Thrones on TV now.
Yeah, and I think that's why right off the hook it got me a little more invested compared to this, where I was like, I was pretty lost.
Yeah, this needs to. I think the sisters are probably the least interesting part of this, but the whole show is based on the sisters. So then I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna work for me. Like they teased that war against the machines. Make that shit. That looked awesome.
They said, look, they said that was one of the ideas they were tossed around in the beginning. The problem is it would
It's
be a
expensive.
massive budget. Yeah, they
Yeah.
would have to have a battle every single one. It would be like they couldn't
Yeah.
afford it, It would be nuts.
All right.
But
They'll make it at some point, making a movie or something. Like there'll be like a cool trilogy, right? You can tell a 3 movie story with that.
yeah, but it'd be super expensive.
Yeah. So I guess I'm gonna check out episode 2, and then that'll be it for me. It either makes it or breaks it, I think. But I'm gonna give it one more chance. Are you done?
No, I'm not done. I'll give I'm kind of coming off a low now because Penguin's done, and I'm kind of sad that's done. We're entering Thanksgiving season now, so I'm gonna try to catch like Thanksgiving horror. That
Hmm.
Thanksgiving movie on Netflix. But no, I don't think there's any like really big shows coming up right now. So there's gonna be like a little bit of a lull. So I'll
Yeah.
definitely give it another chance. There's a lot of good movies coming up. Gladiator 2 is coming up. We
Yeah.
were
I
talking about
might
it
I
before.
might see that before the next pod.
Um, I saw Heretic. That was really good. Um, you know what? I actually just got into. I was really hoping to hear Scott's take on The Exorcist because
I
I
bet
actually
you he didn't watch
rewatched
it.
it. You don't think he watched it?
I don't think he watched it.
Son of a bitch.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I
I'm gonna
wonder if,
guess no, but we'll see.
and I was gonna ask Pedro if he watched Fire in the Sky because I don't
Oh
know if you
yeah.
saw it. They had a lot of like disclosure, like in Congress about what do
The
they call them?
UFOs?
UAPs or whatever.
Oh, they changed the name now, right?
Yeah. Oh man, there was a lot of discussion about that in the last like couple of weeks. They had a big,
Oh,
um,
really? I missed all that.
yeah, it was a lot of disclosure of like videos and things that they had coming out of the ocean and stuff like that. So I
Hmm.
want to see if he saw Fire in the Sky, but I really want to see Scott's because he's not a horror guy and what he thought. I rewatched it. I haven't seen it in years, and it
The
was a
Exorcist.
really, yeah, it was like a slow burn too, man.
It
Like
is.
it doesn't really pick up until the last half hour. And I was like, wow, I remember it being way scarier than this. But then when that last like half an hour hits, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it
This is
goes like 10 out of 10. But
yeah,
yeah, those
it was
movies in the
hard.
70s, they're slower movies. Now
Um,
everything's like fast, fast, fast.
but Heretic was really good. And something I recently picked up on again, and I've been watching is the BBC Sherlock because it's on Hulu.
Oh yeah,
That
with
show,
Cumberbatch.
yeah, man, that show is so well written. It's a really great show. It's
Yeah,
so much
it is.
fun.
I don't think I ever finished it because their release was kind of like, hey, whenever you guys are available, we'll do another season kind of thing. It wasn't like every year. Um, so I don't think I ever finished the third season.
Well, they died by their own success. They became so popular. He became Doctor Strange, and he did a whole bunch of other stuff. He was a really great actor, Cumberbatch.
He
And
did
then you
tons of
had
stuff.
You had the
And
Watson, who also became very successful.
yeah,
So to get them both, and they both love the show. That's why whenever they had like open schedules, they rushed back to try to do it. But it would be like 2 years, a 3 year break. So
yeah.
it's hard to keep consistent. But they love the show so much, it just showed you that whenever they had the opportunity, they rushed right back to it. But now it's going to be like it's impossible to get those two back together. He
But
was in.
it finished. It ended officially. No.
Um, I think they did another special after it ended. Like it was like a Christmas special or something
Oh,
like that
okay.
that they did. But yeah, I think it's officially over. But it was so good. It was one of those shows that you can't do anything in the background with it. You have to like just sit there and like pay attention to it. And they're long as
Yeah.
hell too. They're like an hour and a half an episode.
Yeah, yeah. They're kind of like
But it's only
specials.
3 episodes a season. It goes like but really, really well done. But I don't know, is there anything coming up that you're like besides Gladiator?
Um,
I heard Red
n-
One is just such a generic, you know,
yeah. No, I have
action
no
holiday movie.
interest in that. I do want to see Nosferatu. That comes out Christmas Day. The Dracula sort of remake. Um, I think that might be it. I'm watching a series on Hulu called Rivals. That's really good.
What's that about, Rivals?
Rivals, I've only seen the first episode. It's a British show, like it takes place in the 80s. It's about these two really super wealthy guys. One of them is like a TV producer who hired like some new talent for his news program. And another one is kind of like an investor and I didn't watch enough, but they have like a history that is hinted at, and they kind of hate each other, but they roam within the same like social circles, and they live near one another. So it creates a lot of tension. There's a lot of sex, a lot of smoking, um, and it's like a I don't know, like a very modern drama. Um, Great soundtrack, 80s stuff, great fashion too. Uh, and like just
Rivals.
yeah,
Hmm.
Rivals. I think it's on Hulu.
I gotta check a trailer of that.
And I'm watching. My wife and I are gonna watch Landman on Paramount Plus with John Hamm, and it's a huge cast of Landman that premieres. Either premiered this weekend or soon. That's what John Hamm, Billy Bob Thornton, and what's her name that we just saw in something. Okay,
I got rid of
Lawrence.
Paramount. We were on a Survivor kick, and then we stopped, and I was like, I'm done with Paramount. But they'll probably have a good Black Friday deal for like
Yeah,
$60 for the whole year or something like that. So I'll probably jump on it again.
and you might be able to watch these shows elsewhere. No, can you like? Yeah, Demi
Yeah.
Moore's in it. Um,
So we got
Check out the
Gladiator
trailer for
2,
Landman.
Landman. Well, what's the Rivals? Rivals is the one I'm really gonna
That's
on.
on Hulu, I believe. I'm watching it on the dark side of the internet, but I think it's on. I think it's on Hulu.
So we got Gladiator 2. Wicked's coming out too. Wicked's coming out.
I
Um,
have no interest in Wicked. I don't know anything about Wicked. I think it's like a prequel to Wizard of Oz. That's
yeah.
all I know.
Oh, huge Broadway show.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they're actually breaking it up, the Broadway show
It's gonna be
before the
two parts.
intermission. So I think they're going to do like the first part before intermission is going to be this one, and then part two is going to be like what the Broadway show would be after intermission.
Gotcha.
Moana 2 for the kids, that's coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing really big coming up. I'm looking forward to probably next week. I'll probably watch Thanksgiving on Netflix, that horror movie. That's a great Thanksgiving horror. I think there's a Pilgrim one on Hulu.
Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving?
No, it's Thanksgiving. Oh wait, oh man, now you got me thinking.
The one that came out a few years ago?
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving. Patrick Dempsey. That's on Netflix. That's pretty funny. It was like a tragedy that happened on Black Friday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember this. Yes.
That one was pretty good. I like that. Probably The Pilgrim. I love like horror movies around the holidays. Like um,
Okay. Maybe we'll revisit some of these for next week's podcast. Oh, and Gina Gershon. She's great.
Yeah,
That's her
there's
dick.
nothing really coming up, man. That sucks. It's gonna be a lull right now.
Yeah, well, Oscar movies. We're still a couple of months away from Oscar movies, but I'm curious what gets nominated. I feel like it's been a slow year for really, really good movies like that.
Oh, and guilty pleasure when I'm working on something, and I have to throw something on the background. Cobra Kai. You know,
Oh yeah. I stopped watching that show. I watched the first 2 or 3, maybe. I think 2 seasons.
this is the final season, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna check it out.
Season 1 was so good, but then I felt like it lost a little bit of its edge as it went on because it got too popular.
Now I want they're doing the movie, right? And they're gonna combine the worlds. They're gonna have Jackie Chan
Oh
and
yeah.
Ralph Macchio. So I'm very curious to see how they're gonna combine the two. Is Jada Smith gonna come back? What's gonna go
Oh
on?
yeah. Okay. I didn't know that world still existed with Jaden Smith. I don't think he's coming back,
No, no, I hope not. I mean,
but I guess Miyagi could come back. All right, we'll leave it there, guys. Hang out next week. We're talking Thanksgiving movies and whatever else came out. It's kind of slow. Have a happy Thanksgiving, guys. Peace.
that's good.